Welcome to the December 2018 Star Wars Canon Update. This month we got 2 new episodes of Star Wars Resistance and 7 new comic issues, so let's dive in. I thought the last 2 episodes of Resistance were just okay. Secrets and Holograms was a fairly silly and juvenile story even for this show, but we still got to see some cool new developments like the idea that Captain Doza used to be an Imperial, a fact he seems to want kept under wraps. I'm interested to see if he defected before the end of the Galactic Civil War, or if he was a part of the Empire all the way through the Battle of Jakku. It'll be cool to continue seeing how he feels about the First Order as we collectively learn more about them. Speaking of the First Order, they were very present in the other episode, Station Theta Black. We get to see a mining facility where they've been producing weapons, and Poe and Kaz get in a shootout and a fun dogfight, but that reveal that the bad guys are making weapons felt a little small, just because we know what the First Order is up to, so it might be a big deal to the Resistance, but as the audience we're like, yeah, we know. But still, I'm enjoying Resistance overall, and I look forward to the second half of its first season. Feel free to check out my more in-depth reviews of both episodes if you want to hear more. Moving into comics, Darth Vader number 25 was the final issue of the series, and it was trippy and weird, but very cool as we got to watch Vader go on a spirit journey with the dark side. It reminded me a lot of The World Between Worlds, with echoes of the past and future flowing in and out in the form of spoken dialogue as he tried to reach Padme. But ultimately, the dark side teaches him the lesson the Jedi could not, to let go of what happened and instead move forward with his new identity. The whole series was great, and I've been raving about it for 2 years, so I'll move on, but I did a whole video on this issue if you want to hear more about it. Star Wars 58 was the third part of the Escape arc, with Luke, Han, and Leia stuck on an idyllic world called Hubin. They struggle to just relax while they're forced to wait for rescue. Han and Leia have some really great scenes together, including one where Kira is mentioned in passing. Luke has a crush on this girl Tula, who slowly tells him a little more about her people, including her former Jedi grandmother, but they're still very much a mystery. The issue ends with Leia showing Han her plans for destroying Queen Trios, who betrayed the rebellion in the previous arc. I'm glad to see that's still on the forefront of her mind, and that we'll likely get some closure on Trios' character before we head to Hoth, but I could also see Leia needing to be held back from going full-on Death Star on her enemies. The Age of Republic comics began last month with Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul, both written by Jody Houser, and it shows because they have some common threads that I really enjoyed. I had kind of low expectations for these because most of the one-shot comics Star Wars has done have just been okay to me, but these have been really interesting, exploring the characters and the nature of the Force in very unexpected ways. I wouldn't say they've done anything earth-shattering as far as history, but if you like the Force at all, you'll probably really enjoy these comics. I can't wait to read more of them. Dr. Aphra 27 continued the story of 000 and Aphra after they've been basically joined at the hip by Dr. Evazan, or rather they will explode if they get too far from each other. In addition, a pair of monster hunters turned bounty hunters are sent after them, Winloss and Nock, who were introduced in the fantastic second annual of the comic back in September. I've really been enjoying seeing Milvain and the dark side of their very justice-centered culture, and we already got to see the return of poor Tampozla, who just won't die. But I really like having him around, especially if he's gonna bring BT-1 along with him. Han Solo Imperial Cadet number 2 was pretty much more of the same for me. It's mostly what you would expect from Han and the Empire. Insubordinate, causing trouble, and he gets to avoid consequences because he's just so talented. It just seems to me that attempting to steal a TIE fighter is grounds for severe punishment no matter how close you were to succeeding. But they're still having fun with the story, going so far as to reintroduce the old Legends character Bylart Valance. He was a stormtrooper who became a bounty hunter after receiving crippling injuries, so we might see Han wind up being responsible for destroying his face in future issues. The third part of the Solo comic adaptation is exactly what we've come to expect from all of the comic adaptations. This time around we get to see a little bit more of Kira's life in between Corellia and being reunited with Han, so that's a cool added detail, but there's nothing more than that. Star Wars Adventures 16 had 2 fun little stories, one about Kaz having to intercept some First Order data in the middle of a race that I actually think would have made for a great episode. The second was part of the Flight of the Falcon series with Bazine Natal talking to Embo about the Millennium Falcon's history. I've enjoyed that string of stories, and I'll be sad to see it leave the Star Wars Adventures line. The second part of the Destroyer Down story, also in the Adventures line of comics, showed Rey in a race to salvage a newly uncovered and supposedly haunted Star Destroyer before her opponents can. It's not vital to read, but it's kinda fun. Also released in December was a young reader adaptation of Solo, some Resistance shorts on YouTube, and the new Galaxy of Adventures series. While Galaxy of Adventures is pretty cool in my opinion, it doesn't add anything new to the story. The Resistance shorts are also completely negligible. So for Story of the Month and for the final time, I award that to the Darth Vader comic. It's very generous of that series to end, giving something else a chance to step into the spotlight for once. So let's see what's coming out in January. Star Wars Resistance returns on January 13th and continues weekly through the end of the month with episodes titled Bebo, Dangerous Business, and The Doza Dilemma. Pirate's Price, the junior reader book about Hondo, will be out on January 8th, and we'll get 10 new comics including the Age of Republic special and stories for Obi-Wan and Jango Fett, Star Wars 59 and 60, Imperial Cadet No. 3, Dr. Aphra 28, Solo 4, and the finale of Flight of the Falcon and Star Wars Adventures. But that's it for December. The Canon Update will return on February 1st to cover all those new stories. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with Star Wars content as it's released, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.